my project is quantifying cancer-related fatigue using the Microsoft Kinect camera. So let's start by what's currently used to measure fatigue. Basically at the moment, the standard practice is to use questionnaires. There is no one questionnaire that measures fatigue currently. There is a variety and it's completely dependent on the person running the study. Just here there's a list of current questionnaires in use. Probably the most relevant one is the FACT-F, the Functional Assessment of Cancer Therapy Fatigue. But once again, all these are subjective measurements of fatigue, and they're completely dependent on the test subject. And why do we measure fatigue in cancer patients? Well, cancer patients all undergo chemotherapy. It's a major part of their treatment, and the treatment can cause fatigue in the human body, and if the fatigue becomes too great, they can no longer undergo their therapy. So, as I said, the main aim of this project is to quantify fatigue. It has to be a completely objective approach which hasn't been done before. How do we find this objective approach? Well, basically we're going to find a physical system in the human body and we're going to try and measure it. What are the key outlines to this measurement? Well, basically, when taking the measurement, it has to be very simple. Any strenuous form of physical activity can be very difficult for the patient. It also needs to provide repeatable results. The results need to be comparable, and the results need to be consistent and reliable. This is unlike the current methods in place, which provide very inconsistent results. Alright, just a little bit of an overview of the system created. Basically, so the symptom of fatigue we're going to measure is in the knee angle. The theory behind it is the more fatigued a person is, the smaller their angle when they perform physical activity, doing exercise such as a squat or even just walking motion. How are we going to do this? We're going to use the Microsoft Kinect camera to track the skeletal joints. And then we're going to drive the Kinect camera using C# programming through Microsoft Visual Studio. And then we manipulate the data stream to extract the joint positions and coordinates. And then what happens is Visual Studio outputs into a user interface coded using XAML. And this user interface will display the complete joint tracking capabilities as well as the angles measured, a counter for each step or repetition the person does, and then obviously the overall fatigue value, as well as given an input box to input previous results, which is used in the calculation. So just the hardware used, we just use the Kinect camera connected into a computer. So it's as simple as a person stands in front of the camera, using the drivers programmed in, the camera picks up the person and tracks it, which is the image seen on the right. That is how the user interface displays the tracked person. As you can see, the dots are all the joints. There's 20 joints being tracked, and the solid green lines mean that no joints are inferred by the programming. All of them can be seen. Now a little bit of a rundown of the software and the way it works. Well, first, there's a connection check to make sure that Kinect is being read correctly by the computer, and then once that's been determined, the computer receives the data stream from the Kinect. Now this data stream is completely meaningless until there is a person in front of the Kinect. Then the program will start skeletal tracking. Any data before this is not saved. Following this, it has to determine the exact joint coordinates. It can infer the joints, however, for the purpose of this test, any third joint would mean an invalid result. So once it determines the joint coordinates, it then renders them and outputs them to the user interface as was displayed on the previous slide. While this is happening, it calculates knee angles in the 3D coordinate plane. Using these knee angles, it can determine the maximum angle it reaches, and then what happens is it's got some programming to determine when the user has taken a step or done a repetition of the exercise, and then once this is done, it calculates the average maximum angle for all steps or repetitions, and then you input the previous maximum angle from a previous test to calculate the fatigue value. So we've used two testing methods to get our results. So the first method has the patient walking through the Kinect field of view. So the Kinect would be on a 45-degree angle, and they walk straight ahead through it, and that's how you get your. And then there's the fatigue protocol which takes place, which is a series of interval training as well as strips, so it's very strenuous activity, and then followed by walking past the Kinect field of view again, except second time you walk through, the patient should be fatigued after undergoing the fatigue protocol, and then the previous result from the non-fatigue test needs to be inputted into the system. And the testing method 2, instead of walking through the field of view, the patient will perform 10 squats, undergo the fatigue protocol, and then perform 10 more squats with the previous value added. And the results from the testing. So the method 1, which is the walking through, the average angle measured from a non-fatigue patient was 52 degrees, and there was a 5-degree difference to that in the fatigue angle. The system calculated this to be a fatigue value of 2. Using the exact same patient, the same conditions, and method number 2, the squat, there was a much larger difference, as can be seen there, which is much more significant result than 6. This shows us that method 2 proves to be much more reliable in displaying how fatigue can affect the body, achieving much more accurate results in the system. Well, what do these results mean? Basically, it did help highlight the effect of the person's ability to reproduce knee angles. So it showed the symptom of fatigue in the body. And not only that, you can use this as a method of quantifying fatigue. It also demonstrated the ability of the Kinect to these types of uses, and provided a very strong basis of research for the future. Now, this project was to be continued. There's key steps that need to be taken to improve its accuracy, and these would be to include measurements for posture and glandular spine flexion, which are also, though more minor, signs of fatigue. Further testing will need to occur, because at the moment the calculation used to determine the fatigue value is only in its infancy. This needs some refining and further editing to create a more consistent value. Now this is just a quick video of the program running. As you can see in the top left corner, it's got a live tracking from me. This is just simulating a person stepping. So in the top right of the screen, there's the maximum angle of each step. There's also a step counter, and then just now implementing a